Welcome to RCAM. I'm your host, Ryan, and thank you for tuning in today. So today we are going to be talking about Jeremy Boring's return to, I guess, X and the public sphere. So we will talk about that. We also talk about Candace Owens just further being an insufferable wench if you haven't had enough of her. But wait, there's more. There's more. We also talk about a climate activist coming to light and realizing that climate change is a scam. Who would have thought? Who would have thought climate change is a big scam? But she does. And well, I'll share her thoughts with y'all. And we will also be going over some stuff with ICE and some updates with that because we found out or recently discovered that Alex Peretti, believe it or not, it might come as a surprise to some of you, but Alex Peretti is actually, he has a history of attacking ICE agents and being violent. Who would have thought that the guy that was trying to fight with ICE and disrupt ICE's operations also has a history of violence? Big shocker there. We'll talk about that. And then some other stuff related to pop culture, like the Rainbow Fish, because I got some thoughts on that book, the Daredevil trailer, and Resident Evil Requiem trailer. So we got a variety of stuff that we'll be talking about. So if politics and news isn't your flavor, well, don't worry, because we got some pop culture stuff there too. So we got a little mix, a little medley, so you can kind of pick your favorite thing. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about though. So but before we do, I want you guys to smash that like button, repost this stream because that helps me get reach, and comment. Let me hear from you. I want to hear from you, the viewers. This is an interactive stream, so I'd like to hear from you. If you want to stay quiet and lurk, that's fine too, but chat is open. And also, I don't say this enough, but I want to remind y'all who are watching that if you ever need prayer for anything, I'd be happy to pray for you. So you can DM me or post in chat if you're okay with it being public, and I will pray for you right here, right now. I will pray for you. If you want it to be private, obviously I'll do that off stream. It does not matter to me, but I believe in the power of prayer, and I think it's paramount to what I do. Without God, without Jesus Christ as at the center of my life, I would be nothing, and my life is utterly meaningless. Only with him do I find meaning in this world. And I am super grateful for the life that he has given me. Especially, recently, my wife giving birth to our son. It just reminds me of this beautiful thing called life and the gift that it is. And I'm just a blessed man. And I know it. It's like there are people that really do take their lives for granted. I don't. I recognize what I have, and I recognize that it's beautiful and that it's good, and I am grateful for each and every second I get to wake up and be alive. Like, that is amazing. God has given me the gift of life, and I want to use this life that he has given me to honor him with it, to follow him with my whole heart, my whole mind, and my whole soul. So I give my life back to him because he is worthy of it. Hey, thanks for the follow, Sturva. Thank you for the follow. But yeah, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for this life that he has given me, and I'm grateful for that follow that I just had. I'm just grateful for the life that I get to lead. Hey, KMD, I hope you are having a very blessed day, my friend. Yeah. So before we get into some of the news, I do want to just highlight this. I talked about a little bit about it yesterday, but I'm just really excited for it. So I want to brag on Rumble because Rumble's great. You know, Rumble is one of the platforms that truly does care about free speech. Yeah, dude. See my little follower emote thing popped up. Really stoked about it. Yeah, dude, I am talking about God, and I'm just grateful, bro. I'm grateful for this life that God has given me. And I think that really makes a huge difference um, in your overall perspective in life. Is if you maintain a posture of gratitude, like even when bad things happen to you, you can still have this sense of peace that surpasses all understanding. And that's what I really do believe I have that because I'm grateful. I was grateful to God when I didn't have much, and I'm grateful for God now where I have a little bit more. And if He decides to give me more or take it away, I'm still going to maintain an attitude of gratitude because I do think it keeps us humble and it just reminds us of how precious this life is. So I'm very grateful. So just be grateful. I think it's a very simple message. Be grateful for what God has given you. Be grateful that you get to wake up every day and you're alive. Like that is one thing that a lot of people take for granted is that you're alive. Like you get to experience one of the most profound things in the world, life. And make no mistake, it is profound. We get to, smell the air and hear the sound of music and experience the touch of other human beings and love and just the richness that comes with this thing called life. And I'm grateful for it. Okay. So anyway, back to Rumble though. I am also grateful for Rumble, and I've expressed that a lot. Just today I was uploading shorts to both Rumble and YouTube. Guess which organization blocked my uploads? Take a guess. And I had to submit 2 appeals for. Oh, that's YouTube. YouTube did that. Rumble, no, they didn't. I didn't have to jump through hoops to upload commentary, which is what I did. I creatively transformed content that I was reacting to, and Rumble's cool with it. YouTube, nope. If you have a like 10-second clip of a song that's used in somebody else's TikTok and you're reacting to it, you get blocked, and it's just frustrating. It's just very, very frustrating to do any kind of reaction content on YouTube. It just is. It's the reason I have to have like AI generated music in the background because I can't use any other music or it gets banned on YouTube, which is annoying. Which it does make me want to cut out the YouTube live streaming altogether because it does limit me to a degree because I don't want to get that stream cut out. But whatever, it is what it is. But I am grateful for Rumble, and Rumble is, I think, in many ways now directly competing with YouTube because they didn't have everything that YouTube had. Well, that changed because come February 4th, Rumble Shorts is launching. And here we have Mally Mouse, who, by the way, I've been following before she was even on Rumble. So she's a conservative influencer. Mainly, her shtick was she focused on Disney stuff, but she is actually kind of abandoned or given up on Disney to a degree, or at least she's no longer going to the amusement parks. Anyway, she has good content. Highly encourage you follow her. But here's her testing out their shorts feature. So they have the shorts tab in, I guess, the beta that she got access to. And yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be really awesome. I've already been uploading shorts to Rumble. I've been doing that. I'm trying to get like 3 up a day so that I have a whole library full of shorts for when they actually launch. So I'm very excited for what they're doing here. I think it's good. and Rumble is really paving the way for free speech. And I think that's great. I think that's a welcome change, a breath of fresh air, and it's not something that should be, ignored. It's something that should be rewarded because they really do believe in free speech. They put their money where their mouth is. They also treat creators very well. I've been creating now on Rumble for a couple of years now. I've been their creator program for, I think, since like sometime in March or April of last year. And it's just been a very positive experience. And I met a lot of great people. Some people I met in real life, and I've just enjoyed my time here on Rumble. Another good, you know, um, social media company to support is Pickaxe. I talked to their CEO, Jeff Dornick, another really good guy, a free speech champion, who their site also bans pornography. So I think that is good. So you have media companies that are actually setting themselves apart, and you don't have AI algorithms controlling everything. That's also a breath of fresh air. So highly encourage you guys to check out Rumble if you're not on Rumble. Support Rumble and what they're doing because they really do believe in free speech. And that is something that I think is lost on most people. A lot of people just get in the habit of self-censoring. They don't even really think about it anymore. And I think that's when we've entered truly dangerous territory. But Rumble, you can actually say what you want without really thinking about it. And that's really nice. To have the liberty to not have to, self-censor and police everything you say. So definitely recommend getting on Rumble if you aren't already. All right. Moving on, we are going to talk about Jeremy Boring's return basically to media in a way. At least he's doing the interview circuits, and I think that's really cool. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Jeremy Boring, he is the former um, Daily Wire co-founder and co-CEO, and he's recently released the Pendragon Cycle, which is a phenomenal blockbuster style TV series based off of the Pendragon Cycle movies. Most of you will be familiar with, like, the movie The Sword in the Stone, which is I guess inspired by the same books. And anyway, he's made his return to the public spotlight, and this is a trailer from the Trigonometry podcast, uh, who got the first interview with him.
There's a huge civil war going on the right now, and the question is, what direction is the country going to go? I certainly think that hiring Candace is probably the biggest mistake of my professional life so far. I've asked Candace on 2 separate occasions, what do you actually believe? And on both occasions, she told me, I believe what the people believe. I am the voice of the people. But she's articulating audience capture as a virtue. She's now talking about doing expose documentaries on Charlie Kirk's widow. That is evil. I see a huge alignment between, Antifa thugs tearing down statues of Christopher Columbus and George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, and people on the so-called new right saying that Churchill is the chief villain of the Second World War, or that America shouldn't have used the atomic bomb to end the Second World War. That's just rhetorically tearing down our statues in the same way that Antifa is physically tearing down our statues. I think that Tucker is doing an enormous amount of damage to the Trump coalition.
So I did get a chance to watch that interview, and at least I watched, I would probably say about 75% of it, and very solid stuff from Jeremy. I could easily see why he was the co-CEO of the Daily Wire. He's just a very articulate and thoughtful man, and he has, I think, insights that a lot of people don't have. And I do think he is one of those voices that is truly set apart in the movement, and he has a unique perspective that I do think is worth listening to. He had said something during this interview that I had thought particularly about Candace, and I didn't know exactly how to articulate it, but he did. And he did it in a way that I thought, was better than what I could actually say. But I had been thinking for a long time that, Candace Owens, she doesn't really talk about politics. If you've listened to her stuff, she doesn't really do that. A lot of Candace Owens's content is, drama, beef with other people, drama farming is essentially what I would describe mainly what she does, and she talks about pop culture issues, which there's nothing wrong with that in and of itself. That's fine if politics is not your thing. Politics is barely my thing. Um, but I talk about it because I do think it is essentially pop culture now. But Jeremy Boring basically made this distinction between Candace Owens and then like other people on the right, people like Nick Fuentes and Tucker Carlson and the Tate brothers. Well, I don't think he mentioned the Tate brothers. There's like a third person that's mentioned, but the two that stand out the most are Tucker Carlson and Fuentes. But he separates the two of them and identifies Candace as not being political, and I think he's correct. She's not political. She's not trying to pursue political power. Essentially, he boils down what Candace is doing to a vanity project, which is something that I had thought and suspected, and have said something along those lines. Like Candace wants to be at the center of controversy all the time. It's because her currency is drama. Even if what she is saying isn't completely true, her currency is drama. So anyway, he spends a lot of time discussing Candace Owens and this problem of fracture of what's happening on the right wing, and how the people like Carlson and Fuentes are actually building like a political coalition that I think is that's viable actually. And Nick Fuentes has said that he's interested in politics, and Tucker Carlson spends a lot of his time talking about politics. But that's not the case with Candace Owens. But anyway, he did announce, he said, "Well, I guess I'm back, making friends like always." And I do think that's him playing into the fact that that this is probably going to cause some issues with Candace, and that's to be expected. And unfortunately for people like Candace, this conversation about her between hold on a second, Jeremy Boring and trigonometry is a gift to her, because again, she is somebody that feeds off of controversy. She needs it. If she's not in the spotlight, then she is failing. So this has given her content to grift off of even more, and here's the proof. She's already, this interview dropped at 2 o'clock. She's already doing a video on it. Today on the show, we received another corporate call, this time just 5.5 days after Charlie's assassination. Oh yeah, she's still talking about Charlie Kirk, by the way. And now she's taking innocuous statements by Erica Kirk and trying to make Erica Kirk look like she's cold and heartless. We will talk about that because I think it's demonic and evil. But then she goes on to say Jeremy Boring is back after a hiatus from having personally sank the Daily Wire, except the Daily Wire is still thriving and doing well. This time with a truly original number attacking Tucker Carlson and me. Actually, he wasn't attacking. He was just rightly identifying that you are an evil wench. That's all he was doing. He was saying, Candace Owens is evil, and he's right. You are evil, Candace. What you're doing is evil. How you are dragging a widow through the mud is evil. and frankly demonic. So, he's, that's not an attack. That's just the truth. He's just saying the true thing. Okay? He's just saying the truth. And, if that bothers you, so be it. It is what it is. But he is saying something that I do believe is true. So, obviously she was bothered by that, and she's been already, sharing clips. The Daily Wire's Israel first crew seems so defeated. What a sad little encounter. He's not even with the Daily Wire anymore, technically. So this person's dumb. Uh, encounter there. He desperately kvetches about the. Uh, Maybe that's a word. I've never seen it. About the popular movement that has completely vanquished his media empire. Even trigonometry idiots can't pretend to give an F about what the bro is saying. Jeremy Boring says that Nick Fuentes used the term crisis king as a rallying cry to exclude Jews and claims it uses the Lord's name in vain. Well, yeah, actually, this is an issue that I flipped on because before I didn't, I had made a whole video about Crisis King and how I thought that people were taking this out of proportion. And after kind of looking at the fruit of what some of these people suffering from Israel derangement syndrome are doing, yeah, I can safely say that what they're doing is taking Christ's name in vain. Because it's like they will say Christ is king and then follow up with like F you, you stupid effing Jew, something like that. Hey, Wednesday. Hold on. Hold on. Hold the phone. Wednesday, I am doing great. How are you? And how is your baby? Um, my baby is doing fantastic. He is amazing and just a gift. My whole family is over the moon. We are over the moon. We are just filled with joy over the birth of our son, and my daughters are both in love, and my wife and I are in love, and we are just eating up every second of it. I hope everything is well with you, and I hope everything is well with your little one. Lady Midnight, let me know that you had your baby. So both of us had our babies in January, which I think is cool, really cool, and roughly around the same time. So that's cool too. So yeah, everything is very exciting. I'm thrilled. It's God is good, and He's been very good to us, and He continues to bless us in ways that it's difficult to put into words. And I was talking earlier on the stream about how I'm just very grateful for the life that He has given me, and I'm just happy to be alive and be able to experience the richness of family. Yeah, okay. Yeah, literally a day apart. So we had our son on the 19th. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and the delivery was smooth, no complications, thank goodness. Um, Definitely a night and day difference from our last child. uh, she uh, she came in uh unexpectedly. My wife nearly had a baby in the parking lot of the hospital. So, with it, so from the time my wife got into the hospital to the time my daughter was born, my last daughter was born, it was 15 minutes. So we were just very unprepared. This time, though, with our son, we were very well prepared. We were in the hospital ahead of time. God is so good. She is 2 months early and doing amazing in the NICU. Oh, great. I'm glad. Well, probably a little concerning 2 months early, but I'm glad she's doing well in the NICU, and I will be absolutely 100% praying for your baby, and that she can come home. Because I understand. I mean, when you're in the hospital, you just want to get out as soon as humanly possible. You want to get out. You don't want to spend a single extra second in the hospital that you don't have to. And obviously your baby in the NICU, it's not ideal, but I'm glad she's doing well. Oh, thanks, Palindrome. I appreciate that a lot, man. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be a dad. I just am. I'm thrilled. Like I want to shout it from the mountains. I'm just very excited. Yeah, girls, man. My first daughter, great. She's amazing. She wasn't though, like until she was like 4. And now, our second daughter, she's about to be 3. She's tough. She's one tough cookie. Let me tell you. And I do think though, it's like those strong personalities can be challenging, but I really do think like she has a strong personality for the reason, and she's going to be like this something, a force to be reckoned with for the kingdom of God. I really believe that. Wednesday was there for like a week and then was in labor for like 10 hours. She was incredible. Wow, that's awesome. She's having trouble managing her sugars, but otherwise meeting milestones amazingly. Yes. Yeah, me and my wife are definitely going to be praying for her, and that she leaves that hospital a perfectly healthy baby. No complications. I'm just going to stand on the word of God and believe that your baby's going to have zero complications, and she's going to grow up and just have a long and beautiful and fruitful life. That is my prayer for your daughter. And that's awesome. I am still, it's cool that we had our babies around the same time. I think that's awesome. Sweet. Sweet. Well, thank you guys again for tuning in. I'm talking right now about this Candace Owens drama. God is with her. It's been amazing. Yeah, good, man. Very good. And soak up every single moment of it. Thank you. Trust the Lord with all of our hearts and leave our burdens on him. Yeah, he says, "Come to me, all who are weak and burdened or weary, and I will give you rest." So just rest in the Lord, trust in him, trust in his sovereign hand upon your daughter, and he will fight for you. It's crazy to think how much uh, beloved children, but God loves them more than, yeah, he does. Wednesday says, "Oh gosh, I missed the Candace Owens drama." Man, bro, I'm yeah. Speaking of trying to love people, I gotta say I'm having a very difficult time finding the love of Jesus for Candace Owens right now. I will be real, because she's still going on. She's attacking Erica Kirk, and I just think it's wild and deeply evil and deeply troubling to do that to somebody. I find it troubling. I don't like it. It really bothers me, and especially too because the death of Charlie Kirk is something that I felt, I don't know, spiritually. I still feel grieved about it. So to see this person that is claimed to be Charlie Kirk's friend, then basically slandering his organization and slandering his wife, it's just disheartening. You see that type of stuff and you're just like, what are you doing? Like you could actually be a force for good. And this is something too that Jeremy Boring, who, if you don't know who Jeremy Boring is, he is the former CEO of the Daily Wire. He's doing this interview with the Trigonometry podcast, and he's talking about how Candace Owens, he actually kind of compliments her, even though she has not been particularly gracious to him, talking about how she is extremely charismatic, and she is. She is one of those personalities that when she speaks, you want to listen to what she has to say, but then when she actually speaks and you do listen to what she says, it's like, okay, you're a little out there. And now she's leaking these Zoom calls with Erica in an attempt to make Erica Kirk look bad. And this is one of them, and I want to play it. And I don't want to influence your opinion on this. You tell me what you think, about Erica's behavior in this.
Take a listen.
Hi, everybody. I still love all these emoji Zoom things. Wow. I don't even know where to begin. The fact that we were able to pull off an event of a century, like, it's just insane. We had over 275,000 people that attended.
For context, this is the memorial service that they held for Charlie Kirk.
And the stadium, overflow, Westgate, insane, you guys. And then you have, was it 100 million?
Over 100.
You guys that heard the gospel and all about Charlie and all about everything that you guys do, and the hard work of Turning Point USA is insane. We had thousands that were registered to vote. I think we're at like over 200,000 for merch sales. Don't quote me on that because I think it just keeps like bumping up like crazy. But I just wanted to say a huge, huge, huge thank you to the events team, the development team, the graphic design team, the production team. It's just phenomenal. Their incredible work leading into the memorial. And honestly, a lot of the staff that worked on the memorial, they had 20-hour days for a week during the time of us grieving the loss of my husband. And honestly, I know several staff that didn't even sleep. Again, you guys are breathing angels, and I'm so grateful for all of you. And obviously a huge thank you to the Mosaic team. VI, you guys are 10 out of 10. Like, we have the most incredible team. We just do. And you guys know that, and you guys are all a part of that. And I am so, so thankful. And if you do have a moment and you run into any of those staff members that you know had a role in this, and that they put a lot of their time and effort into it, just say thank you. There's something really special to be seen in moments like this, and it's not easy. I'm speaking from experience. I'm right in the trenches with you guys. And so the fact that a simple thank you. I don't care if any of you have beef with each other from the past or have any issues with someone said something about this or that. Like, if you guys have any of that, please put it to rest. My husband's dead. Like, I'm not trying to be morbid, but he's dead. And it puts life into perspective of how short life is and relationships, and God puts people in your life for a reason, and it teaches you a lesson, it teaches them a lesson. So if you are going through a time where, just lay it to rest, and we are moving forward, Turning Point USA 2.0 with Charlie in our hearts, and that's what he would want.
So she frames this like Erica is being weird because she seems upbeat and happy. And like, this is weird. Like, this is abnormal behavior for somebody, that lost their husband 11 days prior. But I actually don't think it's that weird at all, because she starts this conversation off by talking about the reason that she sounds, a little joyful is because she's speaking to her staff about this massive memorial service that they pulled off where people heard the gospel of Jesus Christ. Now, Charlie Kirk's goal was to make heaven crowded. So she has this massive memorial service where they hear about the gospel and the amazing man that her husband was. How could you not be joyful about that? How could you not be excited about that? And they're criticizing her like she's a bad person for being happy about this? What, because she's not crying 24/7? Do you people have any idea how grieving works? Sometimes you cry, sometimes you don't. You're not crying 24 hours a day. There are moments where you have to keep it together. And at least pretend for a moment like everything is normal. And it's like I feel with with Erica, she's damned if she does and damned if she doesn't. You know, if she cries, they call it performative. If she sounds excited there, they're like, "Why isn't she crying? Why isn't she upset? Why? What? She sounds too happy." You know, there's no winning for this poor woman, and these demons, these demons just continue to slander her, continue to drag her name and her organization that her husband built and entrusted to her through the mud and are attempting to destroy it. And it's just frustrating to me. It's very frustrating to me to see Candace Owens doing this. And I think she is responsible for 90% of the negative perception of Erica Kirk and Turning Point USA following Charlie's death. Like, it's not enough that we had to deal with like leftists celebrating his death and leftist dragging his widow through the mud. It's another thing entirely to see it happening from somebody on the right. And we have somebody that actually points this out. This is from Nathan Livingston. He actually does a really good job reporting on some of the nonsense that Candace is doing. And he's also done some great work on reporting on the Tate brothers and some other culturally relevant individuals.
And you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this. No.
And I hate to say this, but I'm going to be very clear here. This is why there are many people who do not believe that women are equipped to lead companies, because what you are watching here is an unbelievably emotional response that is absent of any logic, okay?
We are moving forward, Turning Point USA 2.0 with Charlie in our hearts, and that's what he would want.
Again, we are not even 2 weeks after watching your husband be assassinated. We're talking about numbers and metrics that have been hit. We know everybody grieves differently. In my imagination, I just thought she would be more upset. No, she didn't even respond to one of the conspiracies. She gave us emotion. She gave us emotion. She said, I'm a mother, I am a wife, and we never asked about whether she was a mother or wife. We want to know if she is a CEO and a chairman. And a CEO and a chairman has to compartmentalize. Imagine you're the employee and you're like, okay, well, this is his wife saying this. So am I weird? Would I be like, I would be pretty weird if I needed to take time off and his wife is saying she's full steam ahead.
Honestly,
she has to run the company. Who else is going to run the company? She was entrusted to run the company. She has to carry on her husband's legacy. That burden rests with her and her alone. She doesn't have the luxury of taking time off. But it does demonstrate a tremendous amount of strength on Erica Kirk's part that she's willing to shoulder that burden, that responsibility, so that her employees can grieve. That's actual leadership. That's actually something incredible. That's a spirit of God upon her. But yet Candace finds fault with it. She finds a way to criticize it while also contradicting herself later on.
Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action. Full steam ahead, you guys. Charlie would want us to get back to work, and that's what we're doing.
Well, now you're gonna have to prove that you have the ability to be a CEO and a chairman and not just a wife who we expect emotion from. And you're rightful in that capacity. You are rightful to have emotion. You are rightful to be the aggrieved widow, but you don't get to just be widowed into the position of chairman and CEO. People who did not know Charlie could not stop crying and were sending me emails, who've never met Charlie, who didn't even know.
And we also know, too, that Erica Kirk, shortly after, she was crying. You know, when she gave her the first speech where she talked about the battle cry of a widow echoing throughout eternity. She said that with tears in her eyes. It gave me chills, that speech. Yeah. Yeah, no, she doesn't. I think you probably mean Candace. That's probably what I'm understanding. Yeah, no, like let her grieve how she wants to grieve.
Turning Point USA was because they watched his assassination, could not stop crying and pull themselves together. That is not the emotion that we're getting there. Like I said, the entire call is upbeat. Go find your commentator who's going to tell you everybody grieves differently. Nope, that is less than 2 weeks after Charlie was publicly assassinated. That doesn't feel right to me. That, well, now the widow has spoken. We're not dealing with the widow. We want the CEO and the chairman of Turning Point USA to answer. Okay? If you can't compartmentalize, then I don't see how you're going to be able to lead this organization in the future. The now fired employees are telling me, no, it was quite the opposite. She was in the office every day with Stacey Sheridan, running around with Stacey Sheridan, taking phone calls with Stacey Sheridan. That's like the head of the fundraising for Turning Point USA. So what I had imagined in my head was happening simply was not so. I'm sorry, but that whole thing right there is frustrating. Something is not right.
It's kind of normal to bury yourself and keep your mind busy in moments of grief. That's a normal thing that people do, even through trying to. I mean, like Wednesday, she's commenting in our Rumble chat. Her baby's in the NICU, but she's still finding it upon herself to find moments of joy. That's normal to experience. Just trying to go through and have moments that remind you of the goodness in life, and especially too when you have the responsibility of leading an organization that your husband entrusted to you. Like, you want to do that well, and you have a lot of people that are depending on you, and you have a lot riding on it. So I imagine that she was dealing with uh the task of trying to carry on her husband's legacy while also being a good wife who is honoring her husband, a good mother, and a good CEO. And I thought, honestly, she has been doing an incredible job. It's only these unhinged lunatics that are trying to make it seem like perfectly, innocuous um emotions are somehow weird or strange or bizarre. But that's been her MO, is that she's been going after Erica because Candace Owens only serves Candace Owens. She only is going to do what's going to get her clicks and get her views and get people doing exactly what I'm doing, because she got me all fired up and pissed off. But at the end of the day, though, I do think Erica has done an incredible job, and I couldn't imagine being in her situation. I would never want to be in her situation. But I would say, if my wife were in the same situation and something happened to me, I would want my wife to have moments where she found some joy and she found a way to honor me in death. And I'd expect her to be excited too if, through my death, they're able to have an event that exposed millions of people to the gospel. I mean, there's actually nothing I would want more than my death to be used as an opportunity to advance the gospel to more people, to make Christ's name known above every name. Because that's my chief aim in life. And that was also Charlie's aim in life, was to make heaven crowded. And Turning Point was able to pull off an event that did just that. Exposed countless people to the gospel and to the work that her husband did. And that is a beautiful and honorable thing. And Candace Owens has no idea. Or she does, And that makes what she is doing and what she is saying all the more nefarious. Speaking of less nefarious things, though, I do want to take a moment to highlight Candace's profound wisdom. So we're going to read this tweet. Back online after internet blackout. I grew up in Connecticut and have truly never seen ice like this before. The temperature is 30 degrees, but the ice on our tree tops is not melting at all. Never seen anything like that. Pff, that's a mystery. What? Ice isn't melting in 30-degree oh, wait. Oh yeah, that's right. Water freezes at 32 degrees. So of course it's not going to melt, a genius. Oh god, she's so stupid, man. Watching KMD says watching Piers Morgan right now, and I remember how much I can't stand Brandon Tatum. He's so heavily biased and can't criticize anyone in his former job. Please, I would need some context for that because I have really no idea what you're talking about. I like Tatum though. I actually don't mind him. She also has said being Catholic is the only way. Yeah, she has said that too. Another thing is so I'm not like a hater of Catholics, right? I don't have an issue with Catholics. If that's your flavor of Christianity, that's fine. But I do hate when Catholics do this, and I usually see it from Catholics, from mainly Catholics, is they convert to Catholicism after being a Protestant. It's usually, and then they go on this rampage against Protestants, and it's like, dude, can you just shut up for you've been a Catholic for like 5 minutes, all right? Maybe don't slander the faith that you held to for many years. And you've only been a Catholic for like 5 minutes. Maybe calm down with it a little bit, you know, and give them a little bit of grace. And I don't think Catholicism is right. You know, I think, one of my issues with Catholicism is that my main issue actually with Catholicism is that they think they have the authority to change the word of God, and yeah, very specifically the Sabbath day. They they change the Sabbath day, and they think they have the authority to do that, and there's no such authority ever given where they have the supreme authority to interpret scripture. No, you do not. You do not have the supreme authority to interpret scripture and then interpret it in a way where it supersedes what scripture actually says. Like, you don't get to make a new Sabbath day. You are not God. God hallowed the Sabbath day and made it holy. You don't get to change that. And the scriptures that they use to justify it, I find very weak. Like, whatever they use, whatever, the fact that Peter was given the keys to heaven, and then it was told to them, whatever you loose on heaven or loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, as their authority to basically change the scripture. And I think, well, back up. Like, all right, I don't. That's very a very weak argument for that, and I have not yet to hear anything compelling against that. Wednesday says, I like Tatum too. He can say some stuff I don't like, but we're all human. Yeah, I like Tatum too, man. I generally like what he has to say and appreciate his commentary. I don't listen to him a lot, but the few times I have listened to him, I've liked what I've heard. So I'm very curious to actually see this Pierce Morgan debate. And just because I don't like some of the things said by others doesn't mean I'm right. I could be wrong, and they could be right. Yeah, and that's too. By the way, guys, if I'm wrong on something, or you don't agree with me on something, I am totally open to being corrected. I'm not, I'm not above correction. I will be corrected in a heartbeat, and I'll issue a retraction. I'm fine, and I have before if I get something wrong, or maybe I'm a little too harsh because sometimes I can be that way, and I don't want to be that way. I want to be somebody that demonstrates the fruit of the spirit. I want to be somebody that honors God in my whole life. I also, though, don't want to be a coward. So there's a fine line there. A lot of Christians will excuse not calling something out as, being kind, but when it's really just cowardice cloaked in kindness. And cowards don't inherit the kingdom of God. So I'm not about that. Anyway, I want to continue with this because she goes on. She says, I will take a video to show you guys what I mean, but it's almost like dry ice and it's taking a certain amount out, an absurd amount of trees. Again, 30 degrees and none of the ice is dripping from the trees. I love this community note. The freezing point of water is 32 degrees. At 30 degrees Fahrenheit, ice will not melt as it remains below that threshold. In sub-freezing temps, sunlight can cause sublimation, turning ice directly into gas, but this requires low humidity and enough radiant heat. Ice can also reflect sunlight. This is something too that my 7-year-old daughter knows this to be a fact. My wife had her do her recitations, and part of her recitations is what point does water freeze, and she knows 32 degrees. But Candace doesn't know this. KMD, Tatum has defended the cops that did nothing during the school shootings. He's defended cops who've seemingly used excessive force. He makes excuses for his occupation that does questionable things. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I remember maybe I'd have to hear what he has to say because maybe he knows something about like policy or procedure that we don't. But like I remember there's that one school shooting in Texas that the cops didn't run in, and there were mothers running in saving their kids, and I thought like that was a very weak, poor demonstration of what it means to be a police officer. These are people that were not being courageous as they should have and doing the right thing. So yeah, I get that. Wednesday says, yeah, I think not calling stuff out is selfish because you don't want to deal with someone getting upset at you. Yeah. Yeah. I think we need to call stuff out. And maybe there's a way where we do that where we could try to be as nice as possible. But sometimes like there's just behavior that you have to say, like, this is degenerate and you need to stop. And there's really no nice way of somebody receiving that. And if you look at it, some of the ways that Jesus and the disciples talked, they said some harsh things, all right? Some harsh truths. Jesus called the Pharisees whitewashed tombs. That was not a term of endearment, okay? He was saying they look beautiful on the outside, but inside they're rotten to their core. They're like dead people. They're like graves, So that was an insult. He wasn't being nice there. When he flipped tables and chased them out of the temple, that he was not being nice. That was not pleasantries. He had to be bold in that moment. So I do think we need to understand that and try our best to maintain a good balance, but never be a coward, ever. Never renege on doing the right thing for the sake of appeasing somebody's sentiments. Don't do that. And I think somebody that actually does, demonstrate being a good witness is Erica Kirk, So I wanted to play this clip because I thought this is good. I actually have Charlie's book coming in the mail soon. Actually, let me see real quick. I want to see when it gets here because I did order that. I was like really excited that the last book that he wrote was about the Sabbath. I know it just shipped. Hold on. I just got to see when it's getting here. It took forever. I pre-ordered this like months ago. So it's arriving sometime in the next couple of weeks. So I'll read that and give a full review of it. All right, here's a clip.
Hate is very powerful from the standpoint of it's all consuming.
it will deteriorate. It will tear you apart. It will, I know they say it's like drinking a poison, it impacts you more than the other person. And if I had any ounce of hate in my heart, the Lord would not be able to use me. I also want to be able to show people that, yes, okay, you forgive someone. You don't forget what they did. It's not a weakness. It's a form of a strength to know, okay, Lord, I am surrendering to you. You have a choice. Am I going to stand in the corner, be in fetal position and crying, or I'm going to stand on my 2 feet by the Lord's strength, be able to say, Lord, give me grace today. I don't know how you're going to use it, but I know you'll use it for your glory. I'm here. Use me. Shine the light of where I'm supposed to go. And please, every single day, give me grace, heal me, Lord. And it's just a repetitive thing. Faith is just a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And I pray that everyone understands that your life might be the only Bible someone reads. So
Amen.
be authentic with it.
Amen. Yeah, try to live that out to the best of your ability. It's what I consider cop mentality, a term I created where a person who's worked in a police can't separate their mind from the eyes of the uniform. They continue to see the world only as a cop. A person with a cop mentality such as Tatum cannot think beyond law enforcement. He or she cannot distinguish between the job and the rest of the world. One's a cop, always a cop. I could see that, and maybe that's the case with Tatum. I don't know. I've met some cops though that have been able to maintain that balance and look objectively at situations. One of the guys that was actually pretty influential growing up on me was a cop, and incredible man, and so somebody that did love the Lord, and was real instrumental in me in my formative years. So I guess it really depends on the person. And I like too that with Erica, no matter what's happening to her, this is the posture that she has. So, she Turning Point Faith held this conference, Make Heaven Crowded. And I think, it's a beautiful thing. Her continuing to honor the legacy of her husband and advance the gospel. And this is a clip from that conference.
I operate very clearly. Whatever decision is in front of me, it will go through a very strict lens. Is this going to bring me closer to heaven, or is it going to bring me further away from heaven? If it is going to bring me further away from heaven, step aside, Satan. I do not want to touch you with a 10-foot pole. I do not want to be around anything that is going to take me further away from my home in heaven. I don't. That's where my heart is. And so as long as I remain obedient to God and abide in his word, and I'm in the jet stream of his will, the opinions of this world mean nothing to me. Nothing.
That's a really beautiful thing, and it can give you a little bit of insight on how she's able to kind of handle the nonstop attacks that have been coming her way. Is that she is focused on her relationship with the Lord. And one of my prayers every year, like a lot of people have New Year's resolutions. One of my resolutions, it's the same one every year, is I want to be at the center of God's will for my life. That is what I want above all. Is I just want to do what the Lord has called me to do. I want to serve him with my whole heart, my whole soul, my entire being, and I want to make a difference for the kingdom. That is the most important thing in this life to me. And part of that is doing these streams. Another part is living that out in my everyday life, being a man of integrity, being a good husband and a good father and a good friend and a good employee, and just living out these principles that I have learned from scripture in my everyday life, applying the commandments of God to my everyday life, which is love, by the way. Jesus says, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. So my aim every day is to walk in the fullness of that, is to love God well and love my neighbor as myself. And when I love my neighbor as myself, my desire is not to sin against them. And when I love God with my whole heart, my desire is not to sin against him. So I'm always doing the right thing and doing my very best to be obedient to what Scripture says. And I think that is really important. It keeps you grounded. It keeps you focused. This is why I believe that Revelations says that the testimony of the saints are those who believe in Jesus Christ, because that is paramount, and keep the commandments of God. Both. Because it's not just enough to believe. Belief without action, faith without action is meaningless. The actions that we take, the tangible actions that we take, are obedience to the Scripture, are walking out the commandments in our everyday life. And that is us being a light in this dark world. That is us being the hands and feet of Jesus to those who need it. So it's very important for us, if we want to love God and we want to walk in the center of his will, to know his commandments and to keep them. Especially if we say and claim to be people who believe in him. Do you believe in him enough where you're willing to do what he says? And if you really do, that should be a joy to you. You should joyfully want to do the right thing because you know it is a way of you expressing your love to the Father. All right. And that brings me to this next video that I want to play for you, because there are some people that are very difficult to love, but we're still called to love them. But we're also kind of called to shine a light on the evil of this world. And my God, there are some people that are truly wicked. So this was shared by Sean Fuchs, who's like a worship leader, political activist, Christian influencer. White evangelical Christianity is a cancer. These are the worst people in our country. Jennifer Welch.
Evangelical Christianity is a cancer. These are the worst of our country. These are the worst people in our country because they use their religion in two ways, as a weapon and as a shield. They weaponize it whenever they want to and say, we're on the moral high ground. You're a lesbian. You deserve to die.
Yeah, Christians say that all the time. Yeah, lesbians, yeah, the gays. The gays deserve to die. That's something we say all the time. Not.
You're a lesbian. The cops shouldn't have revived you. Oh, your parents are Mexicans.
Actually, I distinctly remember the lesbian that got, shot by the police officer. Everybody recognizing that it was a tragedy. Like, we recognize the inherent value of her life and recognize that it was a tragic situation. And we wish that didn't happen, actually. We don't want to see people die because we actually place value on life. The guy that was involved in the recent shooting, Petite or whatever his name is, hold on a second. Let me pull up because I want to make sure I get his name right. Oh, dang it. I closed one of my things. Man. Anyway, you know the guy I'm talking about, all right? So the guy that died in the recent shooting, I didn't want to see him die, all right? That's why, it's tragic to see him die. It was tragic to see him lose his life. That should never have happened. But it did. And it's not unchristian to recognize that there were a lot of things that happened that should not have happened that led to that. That doesn't make me less Christian. When people die, our first question is not, were they Christian? Preddy, yeah, Preddy. That gentleman. Yeah. it's tragic that he lost his life. But at the same time, I have a mentality where it's like, well, like you acted violent, and we have a video footage I'll share a little bit later of him actually like attacking an ICE vehicle. It's like, well, your violent delights have violent ends. And it's sad and it shouldn't have happened. And, if, you didn't have Democrats fomenting violence and rage, then maybe this wouldn't have happened. Another thing too, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me finish this clip and we'll talk a little bit more about it.
And they brought you over here. Yeah, you should go to jail and eat worm food.
Oh, that's something we also advocate for is people go to jail and eat worm food. What? What are you talking about?
And then when you call them out on it, oh my God, they're after the Christians. How dare they? How dare they? We're so oppressed. White Christians are so oppressed in this country. And they want it both ways because in the religion, that duplicity is taught. You can be morally duplicitous. You thrive in cognitive dissonance. And so this is just a massive, massive problem. And it should come as no surprise to anyone that of this cult that I'm talking about, white evangelicals, I think over 80% went and voted triple trumped.
Yeah, because he's not freaking crazy and his Botox out like this woman is. So far, a lot of people don't agree with the ICE shooting that guy, including myself so far. I actually, like, we still don't know exactly what happened, but with the Preddy that was shot, or Andrew Preddy, I believe, I do believe they really thought he had a gun. And if they thought that, then they have every reason to believe that their life was at threatened. And I do think in that situation, it's Peretti. There we go. I didn't even. I'm an idiot, y'all. I could literally see right here. Alex Peretti, not Andrew Peretti. I stand corrected. But anyway, yeah, I do believe they had every reason to believe that that guy was violent, especially because he has a history of doing it. He has a history of being violent. 11 days prior to him getting shot, he was kicking out the taillight of an ICE agent's vehicle. And by the way, I can point fault at somebody. I'm just gonna get into this now because I'm already here. I'm already talking about it, so might as well actually dive into it. All right, here we go. So here's the newly unearthed footage of this guy, Alex
showing
Peretti,
a man who appears to be Alex
being described as somebody that's just minding his own business. So this happened 11 days ago.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing a man who appears to be Alex Peretti interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border Patrol shot and killed.
So peaceful. He's peacefully kicking that ICE agent's vehicle.
Him. Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy. On the morning of January 13th, our team received a tip that federal agents were blocking a street at the corner of East 36 and Park Avenue in Minneapolis. We arrived around 10:15 a.m.
Yeah. So, yeah, he should have been disarmed and in jail, actually. But because Democrats are soft on crime, he was allowed back out and he ended up losing his life. So I could make the argument that if Democrats weren't soft on crime and actually, arrested this guy and put him in prison, that maybe he'd be alive. And he was already a red flag because he's caught on camera attacking an ICE vehicle. Why was he free? Why was he a free man walking? Doesn't make any sense to me. Wednesday, I think antidepressants come into play here. Yeah, too. I think those, honestly, I think a lot of people that are acting in violent ways are on antidepressants and are, they're medically not well. They just aren't. Actually, there was an interview with Andrew Wilson where he actually talks about this. So I'll play that clip because I do think it's relevant. And actually, I'm very happy for Andrew Wilson. So if you don't know who Andrew Wilson is, a uh, he's he's a I guess a right wing guy that very much argues against like feminism and yeah, he's you've probably seen him on the whatever podcast making fools of some of these feminists that go on there, and real good guy. I like him. I've actually talked to him privately once, and he was nothing but kind to me. Anyway, he got a chance to be on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he actually speaks about how the basically the mental illness among the left is weaponized and leads to some of these violent outcomes that we're seeing.
And I can't prove this, but it's been my experience that left-wing communities and left-wing groups, especially online communities and online groups, really pander to the mentally ill in a big way, really pander to them. And I think that it's a form of weaponization. They want to attract the extremely mentally ill into these communities, and it helps with actually what is radicalization. And they play on the fact that they're mentally ill in order to do this.
Well, this is Antifa, right? Like this is
maybe on YouTube, Giradal 8270, but I do have at least more than one. And I don't care, to be honest with you. I don't care if one person is watching, 0% people are watching. I make this content because I enjoy making it and because I believe it's what God called me to do. And I'm not moved on numbers alone. I'm moved by what God calls me to do. And that is enough for me.
This is why
it's not just Antifa. It goes beyond that.
Sure.
Like, if you go to some of these TikTokers communities, you go to some of the online political pundits communities who are far left, okay, these people who are in there are Fruit Loops, man.
Yeah.
They are lunatics, and they're pandered to. They're pandered to. Oh, okay, you can't say this to them. That's ableist. You can't tell them you're a weirdo because that's mean. You can't. And not only are they pandered to, but I think that that's the source of the weapon. If it's the case that these people don't care about death, they don't care. Like, the outcome's going to be death. That guy who shot at the ICE agents not too long ago. Remember, he was on top of the roof. He was shooting across with, I think, a Mauser rifle, and they dusted him. They killed him, or he shot himself. I don't remember which.
When was this?
Wednesday. Someone is watching you to bully you. I guess so. It would work if I didn't, know who holds my life in the palm of his hand, and I take great solace in knowing that God's got my back, so I'm not worried about it.
This was a few months back.
I don't know about this one, I don't think.
No, there was a guy,
Is this how callous I've become?
Yeah, he was taking shots at, I believe it was ICE agents in front of the ICE facility.
Oh, that's right.
He was using, I believe he was using like a Mauser rifle or something.
Yeah, okay, now I remember.
And early on with the Charlie Kirk thing, they were actually making these connections because he had used a Mauser as well, right, to shoot Charlie Kirk. That was so people were making those early connections. Wait, is this a sequence of events? Does the Mauser mean something here? Does that particular rifle have special meaning? You know how people are online.
Yeah.
But anyway, the interesting thing is, like, they don't care if they die. They're dying martyrs. They don't care. Right. And it's really easy to weaponize mentally ill people that way because they don't care. These are the same people who have the high suicide rates for a reason because they're already mentally ill, like the Troons and others, which many of them you find are connected to trans people almost every time.
Also SSRIs.
Yep.
This is the other problem, is that how many of these people are on these psychiatric medications that violent ideation is a part of the side effects of these psychiatric drugs. There's a lot of people that have psychotic thoughts when they get on some of these different SSRIs and different psychiatric medications. So you've got people that are already fucked up mentally, and then you've got them on these medications that cause them to do all kinds of crazy things.
And aren't women aren't women taking much more in the way of SSRI pills than men are?
Yeah.
And who do we see is on the bullhorns and loudspeakers at most of these events? It's women.
Well, particularly liberal women.
Particularly liberal women.
Yep. And then it's like you look at some of the recent school shootings, like there are these trans ideologues that were on SSRIs and were mentally unstable. So yeah, I do think, that plays a role in fomenting violence and creating these, leftist agitators that are reaping havoc on our country. And I've frankly I've had enough of it, and it's very frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, Jimmy Kimmel is crying again, so I want to talk about this clip because it is a little frustrating to me that this man gets so emotional over these recent ICE shootings, but then, basically mocks the death of Charlie Kirk.
We see these videos in which we clearly see one of our fellow Americans executed by ICE, and they won't even...
Executed. Just pay attention to the language that they use, because all the language that they use is trying to
even admit that
paint ICE in the worst possible way imaginable, and like this person as like this just peaceful guy that was minding his own business, wasn't doing anything wrong, he was just executed. Okay, on the way, Nikki. Hey, yeah, give that baby a kiss, and I'll be praying for you guys. Have a blessed night Wednesday, and thank you for hanging out.
it was a mistake. They say that the Honda SUV Renee Good was driving was weaponized. They say the gun Alex Preddy had a license to carry in an open carry state. All right, many of these same people screamed very loudly about when it was Kyle Rittenhouse carrying the gun, a gun that Alex Preddy did not even draw, did not touch.
What's the difference between Alex Peretti and Kyle Rittenhouse? Kyle Rittenhouse wasn't actively interfering with law enforcement operations. There's that. You know, he wasn't actively interfering with police officers enforcing the law. In fact, he was there because police officers weren't enforcing the law. And there was lawlessness rampant. This guy, Alex Peretti, was directly interfering with ICE agents who were trying to enforce the law by deporting illegal aliens from our country. Not the same. Not the same at all.
A gun that was taken from him by one of the agents before he was shot dead by the other ones. They fired 10 times on an ICU nurse. They're telling us, well, it was justified, you know? Is that the...
An ICU nurse, okay. Oh, well, what about, also a violent antagonist, which we know from the video that I just showed you before, where he's kicking out the taillight of an ICE vehicle and acting like an unhinged lunatic.
Law and order that you voted for, if you voted for this, every day is a nightmare now. My wife and I have family in Minneapolis. They're afraid to take their kids to school. They're afraid to go to work. And I can only imagine how people who aren't white feel about this. How does this end? What's the plan here? Is the plan to just keep doing this in every city that didn't vote for Donald Trump? Does anyone?
No, the plan is to do this in every city where there's illegal aliens until they're all gone. That should be the plan. Now, I am not optimistic that the Trump administration will actually do what needs to be done, but they should. They should actually just enforce the law. It's really that simple. Just enforce the law. Deport people who are not here lawfully. It's not that crazy. It's not that crazy. Obama did it. Biden did it. Why is it now an issue? Like, heaven forbid we want to enforce our borders. I don't get it. I don't get why. Well, no, I do get it, because they want their votes. They want to destroy this country from the inside out. And that's why they're doing this. But to regular sane people, it's just a perfectly normal thing to do. Yes, they don't belong in the country. They got to go. Very simple.
On any side believe this is good leadership? We keep saying we need to find subjects that we can agree on. Can we agree that peaceful protesters, including moms driving SUVs on their way back after dropping their 6-year-old off at school, and a nurse who stepped in to protect a woman from harm, don't deserve to be shot dead in the street by the people we are paying to protect us? Can we agree on that? I mean, can we agree that when we see a person murdered in cold blood, that there should at least be an investigation of that? And that our head of, ironically titled head of Homeland Security, has the responsibility to get facts before telling us that what we saw we did not see. I mean, if we can't agree on that, forget it then. This one seems pretty open and shut to me. I think we can agree on this one. It's on video. Look at it. Do your own research. And then once you form your own opinion without being told what you saw, say something. Where are the reasonable voices on the right? I mean, we don't have to agree on everything, but come on.
I actually don't think we can agree, even if we are looking at the same exact videos. And I know we can't agree on this because of the whole situation with Renee Good. All right, we all saw the same video, okay? We saw the ICE officer, or Renee Good drive into the ICE officer. But we both arrived at complete opposite conclusions. And I was kind of baffled. I couldn't figure it out. But it's really not that complicated actually, because it's just confirmation bias. We see what we want to see. We can look at the exact same video and arrive at different conclusions. I happen to think like most of the right-wing conclusions are correct. Now, with this instance in particular, we're not really sure what happened. I don't know why that officer fired the first shot. And I think an investigation needs to happen. So we don't know what led to the initial shot happening, but I do think it's safe to assume if the officer had a reasonable inkling that his life was in danger, then he was justified in using deadly force. And this guy has a history of acting violent, and he was disrupting a law enforcement officers from doing their job. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if something like that happened, because you're directly interfering with law enforcement officers doing what they're paid to do. So anyway, that's Jimmy Kimmel just being obnoxious. And another thing is, we've seen Jimmy cry over this situation. He cried when he got called out about Charlie Kirk. You know what he didn't talk about? Where he was like oddly quiet about Irina Zarutska. He didn't have a damn thing to say about that. And that was a horrible thing that happened. Very tragic. Something that actually grieved me. It grieved Charlie Kirk too. He was silent about that. Didn't seem to care about that. And the irony of it is that the same inability to enforce the law is what I actually think played a role in the death of Alex Peretti. Had the law been enforced, had he had been in jail after he had attacked the ICE agent's vehicle, these federal law enforcement officers, he should have been in prison. Oh, maybe he would still be alive, but leftists don't want to enforce the law. They want lawlessness. And this is the type of thing that happens when you are fanning the flames of anarchy and chaos. Casualties and tragedies like what happened with Alex Peretti. All right. So that's Jimmy Kimmel being awful. We'll look at a few more videos of leftists being awful because, they just can't help themselves. So this video was shared by Libs of TikTok, and this is an ICU nurse, I believe. Hold on a second. Let me just make sure. No, ICU nurse. A nurse, just a nurse. A healthcare worker. Uh, basically, teaching people to drug ICE agents. So, great stuff from the left.
I thought of something good. I think it's something weird spot. Sabotage tactic, or at least scare tactic. All the medical providers, grab some syringes with needles on the end. Have them full of saline or succinylcholine, whatever. That will probably be a deterrent. Be safe. Okay, for today's resistance tip, I vote, anybody got any poison ivy, poison oak in their yard? Get some of that up with gloves, obviously. Get it in some water, like a gallon of water. Get the poison ivy oak water, and I'm gonna put it into a water gun. Aim for faces, hands.
That could actually kill someone, by the way. Like me, who's allergic to poison ivy. If I got sprayed in the face with it, like, it could actually kill me because I'm allergic to it. So, like, what she's advocating for is, like, murdering ICE agents. Real tolerant, wonderful people.
Are the single ladies where these ICE guys are going have a chance to do something, not without risk, but could help the cause for sure. Get on Tinder, get on Hinge, find these guys. They're around. They're an ICE agent, bring some X-Lax and put it in their drinks. Get them sick. Nobody's gonna die. Just enough to incapacitate them, get them off the street for the next day. Highly easily deniable. You could get sick too. Won't eat there again.
She thinks this is funny. She thinks this is a game.
Let's get them.
Poisoning ICE agents is a game to her. It's funny.
Somebody's not going to be supporting these guys. Where's the hotel where they eat? Who makes that breakfast? Let's find them.
It is horrifying to know that this person is a healthcare worker. Like she actually has patients that she sees. And it's like, my God, imagine you're a patient and you sit, like, you maybe say something a little right wing. Do you have to worry about her killing you or poisoning you during your doctor's visit? Like, it's very, very crazy. And this is someone too that swore an oath to do no harm, explicitly calling on her followers to do harm to ICE agents. It's truly ghoulish and demonic behavior. But there is good news. VCU released this statement: "We prioritize the health and safety of anyone who comes to us for care." We prioritize the health and safety of anyone who comes to us for care. We are aware of a series of videos that appear to have been posted by an individual confirmed to be an employee of our health system. The content of the videos is highly inappropriate and does not reflect the integrity or values of our healthcare system. VCU police are assisting with this investigation per policy. While the investigation is underway, the individual is on administrative leave and will not be in our facilities or interacting with patients. So it looks like this individual is getting fired, which she should. She should, without a doubt, lose her job, because that is insane behavior. It is insane behavior to be essentially teaching your followers to poison ICE agents. Very, very wild. It's just a wild timeline that we're living in. And again, these people are just so freaking brazen, man. They don't care. They don't care about the consequences. And there's more people, so I got a couple more videos we'll play, and then we'll switch gears a little bit, kind of lighten things up a little bit. So this was shared by I meme, therefore I am.
As a labor and delivery nurse, it gives me great joy to wish Caroline Levitt a 4th-degree tear. I hope that you fucking rip from bow to stern and never shit normally again, you cunt.
Lovely. Labor and delivery nurse wishing harm on Caroline Levitt, who is pregnant and expecting a baby. These people are like, I don't like leftists, all right? If you haven't noticed, I'm not a fan. But even pregnant leftists, I would never wish harm on them or their babies. Ever. Even if I thought they were like evil incarnate. Like this woman. I would not wish harm to befall her. And that's the difference between us, is that they do want harm to befall us. They take joy in seeing our suffering. I actually don't take any joy in seeing their suffering. It bothers me. And this lady she is not sorry for anything she said. In fact, she doubles down.
So they just murdered a man in Minnesota. They murdered a man in Minnesota, and you motherfuckers are coming after me because I use bad language? Fuck you. I'm on the right side of this. Fuck you.
Actually, the person that wishes pain on another individual because of their political opinions, you're not on the right side of this. You're on the wrong side of this, actually. But good news, more good news. Effective today, Lexi Lawler is no longer allowed to practice nursing in Florida, making statements that wish pain and suffering on anyone when those statements are directly related to one's practice is an ethical red line we should not cross, and I'm proud of Florida Surgeon General for taking decisive action. Another one bites the dust, and I do take joy in that, because that's just the consequences of your demonic actions. You effed around and you found out. Oh, well, looks like you can't practice medicine, and thank God, because I would hate to be a conservative and be under your care. Horrifying. Horrifying that you have people like this practicing medicine. All right. Man, we only got 10 minutes left. Or not 10 minutes, 30 minutes left. So I had some climate stuff some videos on the docket that I wanted to cover. I'm going to save these for tomorrow, and I'm just going to get into some of the pop culture stuff that I wanted to talk about. The real hard-hitting news. And the first thing I want to talk about is this book. A book you're probably familiar with. A book that you probably read as a child. And it's The Rainbow Fish. Some of you are probably going down a trip down memory lane. You're thinking of this book and you have fond memories of it. And I did too. And I bought this book and I started reading it to my daughters. And suddenly, as I read this book, I thought, I'm not sure I like the message of this book, actually. I feel like this is low-key teaching communism. And for those of you unfamiliar with the book, the rainbow fish is the most beautiful fish in the ocean. And he's a little arrogant about it. So pretty arrogant about it, a little mean. And one other fish wants him to share his scales and he refuses. And then this fish that asks him to share his scales then basically tells all the other fish, and they bully him and ostracize him from the community for not sharing his scales. Then he goes and visits this octopus that basically tells him that he will find happiness if he starts giving away all of his scales. So then the one fish that he refused to share scales with, he gives him one of his scales, and suddenly he feels better. And then all the fish take his scales, and he's left with like one shiny scale. And it's like, I read this book and I'm like, wait, hold up. So they get to bully him and take all of his scales, and that's how he's supposed to be happy. The lesson should have been, no, just don't be prideful. You don't have to give away all your skills. There's nothing wrong with being beautiful. But I do think it like low key teaches communism. So, this is a book where I'm taking it off the shelf in our household because I just don't like the message, man. I don't like the message. All right. Now I'm getting to the part of my stream where YouTube has to get cut because, sorry, YouTube, but I am unable to play copyrighted material even if I'm doing reactions to it. And I rather the video just not get pulled. So I'm just gonna cut the stream. If you want to continue to watch, you can come over on Rumble and watch me over here where I'm able to speak freely. So that means you, KMD, since you're like the only one that watches on YouTube. Anyway, have a good night, y'all, on YouTube.